Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and your local witch next door. And today I'm talking about tarot and sunflowers. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. I recently held a virtual tarot card crafting workshop where we learned how to craft our own tarot cards. If you weren't able to attend live or didn't register in time, you can get the full package, which includes the full hour-long recording, my step-by-step method, examples of the tarot cards I've created, journaling questions, and PDF to walk you through it for just $33. The link to purchase that will be in the show notes. I'm also going to be offering a 12-week Tarot for Transformation live course beginning at the end of August this summer. If you're interested, there'll be a link in the show notes to sign up for more information. I just updated my Patreon benefits to be bigger and better than ever, so if you want an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast, join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family at the Lovers level. If you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can get a one-time individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. If you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, you can join me at our next Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event. We'll be meeting at the Old Hangout, which is a tiki bar in the downstairs in the Tacoma McMinimans Elks Lodge from 1 to 3 p.m. on July 27th. Bring your tarot cards, your questions, and your obsession with tarot, and come meet other witchy and tarot folks in your community. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you in this community at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on my upcoming events, presentations, musings, and more. And if you don't already know, I'm a sex and relationships therapist, seeing clients virtually all over Washington State. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. If you'd like to work with a therapist that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website now and book a free consultation to start your journey. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards that I pull. I also just recently opened up a coaching availability for a couple of clients. So if you are outside of Washington State, you listen to the podcast, or you really wanted to work with me, working in a capacity around queerness, polyamory, witchiness, dealing with some of these imposter syndrome, or trying to advocate for yourself, struggling with boundaries or anything like that, I will also have a link in the show notes to sign up for a free consultation with me if you're interested in coaching. This is a new thing I'm starting to offer now, so that's very exciting. And like I said, you can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, so welcome to season 11. Today's the last episode where I'm wrapping up talking all about tarot and plant allies. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. In season 1, I talk tarot basics. In seasons 2 and 3, I went through all the major arcana cards and an overview of the 4 suits. Season 4 was all about tarot and pop culture. Season 5, I went through 13 common tarot spreads. Season 6, 7, 8, and 9, I went through the suit of wands, pentacles, swords, and cups. And season 10 was all about tarot and witchcraft. And like I said, today we're in season 11, wrapping up this season about tarot and plant allies by talking about tarot and sunflowers. So I'll go through a plant description, plant magic, relation to tarot, and uses in this episode. So let's start with a description. You've probably heard of them before, but sunflowers are one of my favorite things to grow in the garden, and also just a lovely cut flower. They are part of the Helianthus annuus family and the Asteraceae family. They are, let's see, they were cultivated or originally from the Americas. So in the Aztec language, Nahuatl speaks of Chimalcoxitl, or shield flower, a reference to the large flower's association with the warrior sun god. Ancient signs of cultivated flowers can be tracked back several thousand years to Mesoamerican lineage in regions known today as Mexico. The Spanish name for the plant, girasol, or turns with the sun, reflects the heliotropic motion of the flowerhead's gaze as it follows the sun east to west throughout the day, which is part of why I love growing them. It's a very unique thing to do. Not that many flowers move in that way to follow the sun, which is what the heliotropic name means. So legendarily, the conquistadors attempted to repress sunflowers. They recognized the associations with the sun god and the empowerment they symbolized to the people who grew them. However, their efforts were futile. Even the Spaniards eventually recognized the sunflower's undeniably glorious ability to spread seeds across the globe. Beyond the sensational visual display of their ray-lined flower discs and the promising embrace of their heart-shaped leaved, sunflowers benefit the earth with deep taproots that aerate and remediate the soil. The blossom is packed with a multitude of tiny nectar-filled blooms, which attract bees and later become a plentiful source of oil-laden seeds for birds. There are many ways to reap the benefits of these lovely plants. Not everyone knows, but the plants are edible at every phase of their growth cycle. So they're very easy to grow. I mean, if you've ever bought bird seed that had sunflowers in it, you're probably aware that when it falls on the ground or when the birds don't get them all, sunflowers sprout up very easily. Like it talks about, they have a very deep taproot, which just means that it goes really deep in the ground, their root. And so they're good at growing in a variety of soils, even when not super well nourished soils. You can grow sunflower sprouts when they're quite young and eat them like microgreens. They're high in protein and have complete set of amino acids and high levels of zinc and vitamin B. As they get bigger, you can actually eat the stalks of them like celery or make like a sunflower root slaw. Sunflower seed kernels, right, the seeds themselves, are known for their density and satiating sustenance, right? If you've probably, I don't know, if you grew up in the Americas going to baseball games, you've probably sat and taken the shells off of sunflower seeds and eaten the insides. In the Aztec region, they used to grind up sunflower seeds to make porridge, so almost like you would with other like grains. You could make like a hearty breakfast. You can also eat the whole sunflower bud. Can be prepared similarly to artichoke hearts. I've seen them like grilled before. So before, right, the inner part goes to where everything turns the seed and gets dark, you would eat it while it's still fairly early in its development, having opened up, and while it's still sort of like green aspects on the inside. Like drizzle it with oil and like salt and pepper, and you can like grill it, as I'm aware. So that is sort of different, getting to know sunflowers. Like I said, they follow the sun throughout the day. They grow on very tall green stalks, almost in the way that, like, if you ever listen to the Jack and the Beanstalk fairy tale or folk tale, where you plant, a bean and then the stalk goes all the way up into the sky where giants live. Sunflowers can feel that way. I have some growing in my garden right now that are at least 8, probably going to be 10 or 12 feet tall. They can get a very large stalk, like multiple inches across, almost like a tree, where you have to saw through it to cut it down. And they do grow very easily. So pretty much for me, if I've ever grown them in my garden, they will continue. Inevitably, me or the birds miss a seed, it falls in the ground. and they'll come up the following year. You can also, sunflowers are bred easily, which just means like you can have multiple sunflower types, and if they cross-pollinate, so if they have insects that go between them and pollinate them, go to one and then the other, they can have color mixing or different head mixing. There's lots of different kinds of sunflower types, and so it's very fun to grow your own. And like I said, they have big seeds. Of course, you can eat them or you can plant them. You can give them to the birds, all sorts of things to do with sunflowers. And yeah, generally the flower head can get very large, like bigger than your hand, certainly. The inner parts, yeah, have a lot of different little mini flowers almost for pollinators to go to. The outside has very pretty leaves, usually between yellow and reddish, although like I said, there's a lot of different varieties of sunflowers, so they can be bred for different colors or multicolor. I have some red ones that I really like. And then, yeah, as the flower matures, the parts in the middle of the plant turn to seeds. And if you've ever, again, grown them, you can cut off the whole flower after that seeds and get like hundreds of seeds. I often will give some to my chickens, or the birds will, if I leave them, the birds will definitely go and eat the seeds throughout the fall until winter. They are more of a like late summer, fall plant, which is also nice. Some flowers are more spring. Some flowers fall into the more fall category. So let's talk about some plant magic. So sunflowers are associated with positivity. I'll talk more about the tarot card aspect of it, but they're associated with the sun, both the tarot card and the literal sun. We see sunflowers on various Rider-Waite-Smith cards, like the Queen of Wands and the Sun card. Yeah, so in the Herb Crafters Tarot, my new favorite deck that I haven't had, but I just bought yesterday, so will be coming to me soon, which I'm very excited about, because I've found that almost every card or plant I've been talking about this season is in that deck, which is very fun. So they associate the sunflower with the Magician card. Sunflowers, again, are easily grown sort of everywhere in local community gardens. If you have birdseed, they will reseed them for you. They're very nutritious, right? They're a good gift to other people. They're easy to grow. You don't have to do a lot. They can grow in a lot of different soil. And they talk about here that the sunflowers can nourish our power and dreams with the magic of the elements and our spirit. The power of manifestation lives within is what the sunflower is about. On the Magician card, all the information necessary to create life is contained in a seed, yet it is the elements that make the sunflower grow. Wind strengthens the stalk, water feeds the plant, fire is converted to energy by the leaves, and earth anchors thereto. Nourish your ideas with the elements and watch them bloom into being. Receive divine light from the unseen realms, shape it into form, then give it all away. Sunflower roots travel for miles underground, bringing nutrients to the flower. When it matures, the flower head bends to the earth and unleashes thousands of seeds. Be a conduit of transformation for others. So you can boost magical potency by eating sunflower sprouts for energy, which just means the plants when they're very small. You can learn to do casting charms for others, or you can multiply, right, the plants through guerrilla gardening, which basically just means like dispersing seeds in places where they're not generally cultivated. You can plant sunflowers everywhere and share the seeds. Again, like if you've ever grown most flower plants, you realize that you only need to grow one to get hundreds of seeds, which is very fun. And like you said, with sunflowers, you can also eat them. Birds eat them, etc. So they are often also associated with the Sun card. So let's move into more of its relation to tarot. The sun card, again, often depicted with sunflowers on it, represents joy, optimism, new beginnings, triumphing of light over darkness, signifies a period of success, happiness, and clarity, where challenges are overcome and light shines on one's path. Like I said, sunflowers often appear in other tarot cards as background elements, and generally their presence reinforces themes of positivity, growth, and connection to the sun's energy. We also see the Queen of Wands, sometimes associated with sunflowers, symbolizing her radiant personality, warmth, and creative energy. Also associated with growth, abundance, and joyful life with the Queen of Wands. So I did pull I pulled a Sun card, a Queen of Wands, and a Magician card. The Sun card and the Queen of Wands I pulled from the Ophidia Rosa Tarot deck by Leela and Olive. And on the Sun card, we do see a sun and a sunflower depicted here, with some leaves around the edges of the card. In the Queen of Wands card, we see different crystals, a butterfly, different flowers, and a very sort of symmetrical butterfly-like image. And then on the Magician card, I pulled this from the Anima Mundi Tarot deck by Megan Weirer-Wenden. The Magician associated with the number 1, and ones are all about abundance. And so we have an infinity sign, right? The infinite abundance. We have I believe, Luna moth, and then we have below it a wand, a pentacle, a sword, and a cup below it, right? The Magician encompasses all elements, as does the sunflower, which is very nice. What else? On the MrTarot.com, Sunflowers, Sun Gods, and Tarot, they discuss that sunflowers, the Queen of Wands often is depicted holding a sunflower, and they're emblazoned on her throne. Their tall, sturdy stems represent strength, resilience, and vitality. The sunflower's name comes from its resemblance to the sun, although they're often linked to solar deities such as the Greek god Helios, the personification of the sun, often depicted as a charioteer driving the sun across the sky. They're also associated with Apollo. The myth of Apollo and Clytie is a story from Greek mythology that revolves around unrequited love and transformation. The myth explains the origin of the sunflower's tendency to follow the movement of the sun across the sky. So they talk about in the myth, it's that Clytie was a water nymph who fell deeply in love with Apollo, the god of the sun, music, and prophecy. However, Apollo did not reciprocate the feelings. He was in love with someone else, Laokotho, another nymph. Heartbroken and unable to win Apollo's love, Clytie spends her days pining for him. She would gaze at the sun, following its movement across the sky. In some versions of the myth, it is said that she kept turning her face towards the sun, and as a result, the gods took pity on her and transformed her into a sunflower, forever facing the sun. The behavior of the sunflower moving across the sky was also captured by William Blake in the opening lines of his poem about this flower that reads, "Ah, sunflower, weary of time, who countest the steps of the sun, seeking after that sweet golden clime where the traveler's journey is done." Their shape and color match the symbolism of the sun, and the color yellow is often seen as a happy and uplifting color. Therefore, if you've drawn to them during a tarot reading, they suggest positive energy and good fortune. Let's see what else. Pamela Coleman Smith, depicted right in the sun card, or several cards of the tarot cards of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck bear the sunflower within the imagery. Vincent van Gogh painted sunflowers in 1888. The painting received much interest, and the painter himself referenced the flowers as a symbol of happiness. In Christianity, the sunflower is associated with the faith in God, and the sunflower is likened to the soul turning towards the sun like God in blind faith. If we look to the sunflowers on the Rider-Waite-Smith Sun Tarot card, we see that they're positioned on a stone wall. The sunflowers have flourished despite the stony earthbed and lack of earthly foundation, right? We just see them growing out of concrete, basically. The seeds are likely to have settled in the cracks of the stone, and that such is hope that can even be found in the unlikely places. Such is the strength of the sun, the beauty of nature, and the birth of every day. And this was read from the International Tarot Foundation.com, talking about sunflowers. I also, on the Tarot Forum, .net, they talk about the Queen of Wands sunflowers. Someone was asking about their association with the Queen of Wands, and they say there's a way of associating her with the sun, the suit of fire, right? Wands are a fire sign. Typically in the Rider-Waite deck are the element of fire and energy, passion, and the virtues of sun, including philosophy and drama. It can also be an indication that in the deck she stands for Leo. Sunflowers are the flower of the zodiac sign Leo, or just a reflection of her disposition. Sunflowers are emblematic of dramatic, confident, energetic people. There's nothing of the shrinking violet or demure daisy in the sunflower. All right. So let's get into some uses of the sunflower. So, I am referencing the Hearth Witch's Compendium, Magical and Natural Living for Every Day by Anna Franklin. In magical herbalism, sunflowers are associated with sun rituals, midsummer, happiness, blessings, fertility, strength, courage, action, self-image, consecrating healing stones, and gems. They are ruled by the sun, the element of fire, and the star sign Leo, sacred to Apollo, Demeter, Helios, and Venus. All right, so let's go through some different ways to use sunflowers. So a lot of them are using sunflower oil. So if you think about how oils are created, it is by compressing in usually a very commercial or industrial setting, pressing a bunch of seeds, again, in a very intense way to create or to extract the oil out of them. So sunflower oil is often used as a carrier oil when doing infusions or other things. So there's a body scrub in this book that talks about utilizing sunflower oil as a carrier oil to make a body scrub. So this is the thing that you would use in the shower to rub onto wet skin and rinsing well, and then you'd follow with a moisturizer. Scrubs can help to remove dead skin cells and stimulate the circulatory system, making you glow inside and out. How appropriate for sunflowers. So if you wanted to make this, you would use 2 ounces of fresh mint, 2 ounces fresh rosemary leaves, half an ounce of juniper berries crushed, a teaspoon of fresh ginger grated zest of 1 grapefruit, half a pint of sunflower oil, 1 pound of sea salt, and 5 teaspoons of vitamin C powder. So you would put the mint, rosemary, juniper berries, ginger, and zest into a pan with the sunflower oil. Simmer on low heat for 5 minutes. Strain, discarding the pulp and retaining the oil. In another bowl, combine the sea salt and vitamin C powder. You add the herb oil, mix well, and store in an airtight jar for about 6 months. It will keep. There's also a home remedy in here to create a chili oil, and this is a remedy for like a massage oil, which is good for arthritis or rheumatism. So it is going to bring heat to the surface, right? If you think about that, so you use 1 ounce of chili powder or 3 chopped chilies and a pint of sunflower oil. You heat the chilies and the oil in a double boiler for 2 hours. Strain and massage into the affected areas. So you will strain the chilies or the chili powder out. Again, make sure that you're not exceeding the recommended amount, and try not to touch your eyes or cuts after handling chilies. You can use gloves if you are like handling them or straining the oil with your hands at all. It can cause skin irritation, so maybe patch test it on your skin at first, which just means put a little bit of the oil, the infused oil, on like your arm or your wrist, and just a little bit, and after a couple hours see what happens. If you don't have any sort of reaction, then you're good to go, but if you did, it's better to know that now before you put it all over your body. And again, so chilies or cayenne contains a substance called capsicum, which can help reduce pain by blocking pain signals to the brain. So that is how this would work if you were going to utilize that. What are some other uses? Of course, you can eat, like I said, all parts of the sunflower. You can grill the sunflower heads. You can eat the seeds. You can give them to birds, or eat them yourselves. Okay, another interesting thing I saw in here was creating an herbal talisman. So it's just sort of a form of magic using herbs. Herbal talismans are fabric pouches filled with dried herbs. You can either buy a pouch, like those little drawstring bags that you might get jewelry or something in, or you can make one yourself. You just need a piece of cloth. You can sew up, right, a couple of the sides, put your herbs in there, and then sew it shut. You can also use some color magic. The right color adds extra strength to the magic. So you can look up color magic and pick a color for your cloth if you'd like. And then once you're done with that, you can sew it shut, carry it with you, put it in the appropriate room of your house, sleep with it under your pillow according to its purpose. So for this one, it is a fertility talisman. So it suggests green cloth. You get 3 almonds, 3 grains of barley, 3 violet flowers, 2 walnut halves, 3 acorns, 3 sunflower seeds, 3 grains of rice, and 3 red rose petals. And you assemble this at the full moon and place it under your pillow or under the bed. And then lastly, you can make your own dried incense, which I think I talked about in another episode, but for if you're using sunflowers, you would use like the petals probably, or the flowers. So you could, take the flower off the plant, cut it off when it's starting to, like when you're wanting to harvest it, take the petals off, or you can use the whole flower and let it dry out a bit, and then you would use those different, like again, leaves or flower petals or the flower itself, and utilize it. You could use a mortar and pestle to sort of crush it up once it's dry. You can store it in jars, obviously. And when you're blending loose incense, it is very easy to make. You just assemble all your ingredients. You get your pestle and mortar, your mixing spoons, your jars and labels. And then you just do like, use parts. So you say like, 3 parts frankincense, half part thyme, 1 part myrrh, that kind of thing, to create different loose incense. To use loose incense, you take self-igniting charcoal blocks. You can usually get them from witchy stores or buy them online, and you light them. It will begin to spark across the surface and eventually glow red, right? It's just like if you've ever used charcoal on a grill, it's like that, it's just smaller. You put it in a flame-proof dish with a mat underneath, as it will get very hot. And when the charcoal block is glowing, that's when you sprinkle a pinch of the incense on top, and a little goes a long way. If you're celebrating outdoors and have a bonfire, you can throw, obviously, bigger quantities of incense directly into the flames. So that's sort of how loose incense works. So they say sunflowers would be good for that. They also talk about that you can use sunflowers to dye clothing using natural dyes. You would need a mordant, which they suggest in here is alum, which is just a way to help the dye take to the clothing. But again, sunflowers, right, those bright yellows and oranges and reds, they're going to be great for natural dyeing. So if you want to do that, You can look up how to do some natural dyeing. I do have some of that information in A Woman's Garden by Tanya Green. I'll link it in the as a reference if you want to give that book a look, or you can always just kind of look it up online about doing natural dyeing with flowers or something like that. So all right, so that's where we're gonna end our sunflower discussion for today. Let's go ahead and pull a card and see what sunflowers have to share with us, what messages are coming through today. And again, I'm going to be using the It's Grow Time deck by Chantel Davis Gray. I just got it the other day. You can get free shipping and a special discount code, goodness, to get a percentage off. I do not get any kickbacks for this or anything. I just wanted to support Chantel, and I wanted to grab my own deck as a small business owner because it's great for that. It's called It's Grow Time, 48 cards for do good, feel good business owners. And again, it's sort of like a affirmation type deck. And it's grow time, right? It's all about growing, which we love for the season as we are growing and talking about plants. So sunflowers, what message do you have to share with us today? Take a ride or walk and let your mind wander. All right. The cards tell us, so you must do it. I'm actually going to meet up with a friend after this, get some food, and maybe we will take a walk because that sounds lovely. All right, so if you'd like to join me on the journey of using tarot for transformation, click on the link in the show notes to indicate your interest in getting more info. We'll be working together for 12 weeks of calls and journaling to discover what happens when we want to transform our lives through the tarot. Links for the tarot decks will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.